So welcome everybody. I'm pleased to have my good friend here, Anne Ryan from Ireland, uh, an EFTer that has been around a long time, unseen therapist, advanced student, and so on and so forth. Say hello, Anne.
Hi, Gary. Hi, everybody.
Hi. So our topic today has to do with some blocks to success with our process with the unseen therapist and so on. And there are many, blocks that happen that we have to be used to and developed, and all of that's involved in our course. But Anne, why don't you start off with one of the examples that you're familiar with, and then we'll just go from there and flesh this out.
Lovely. I think one of the big blocks to our success, and our success is that we kind of move on from the issues that are bothering us. We clear the anxiety, we bring more peace into our system, we don't have the knee pain, whatever it might be that we're aiming towards with all of this work. And I think fear is one of the biggest things that holds us back, just as human beings. And I think often the fear can be very old. It can come from a place of something that happened when we were 5 or 6 or 3 or 10. And there can still be that 6-year-old that we carry within us. I mean, not at a conscious level always, that is kind of pulling the reins like, don't, just in case, because that didn't work out so well last time. And even though we're now decades on from being 6, the 6-year-old is still very much kind of holding the reins and pulling them back to kind of slow things down.
I'm thinking as an example of that, if the 6-year-old who has been, let's say, at the has been subject to ongoing criticisms and abuse from their family, parents perhaps, or father, mother, this kind of thing, and they're so used to that, and even at these early ages, they are used to protecting themselves however they do that. Okay, dissociating sometimes, other ways of doing it. And so when we come along with the unseen therapist and we completely revise that, we resolve the whole thing so that all that previous protective device doesn't even need to be there. Now they're going into the unknown. That's not known to them anymore. It's an unknown. Is that your experience?
Yes, I think that's a really good way of putting it. And the unknown can be scary. I mean, even though we want to move forward in our lives. We want, to feel better physically, emotionally, but the unknown can be scary. So that in itself, and I think whether it's the 6-year-old or whether it's the new territory, the unknown part, whatever it is, I think like inviting in compassion for ourselves in it, because it's so easy to go, oh, come on, you 6-year-old, we're not 6 anymore or whatever. And it's really, really important that I believe that we like honor and feel compassionate towards those parts that are doing their best but haven't caught up with today when that's no longer relevant.
Yeah, I tried to imagine somebody in early years had been criticized or abused in some fashion, and now all the angers and griefs and guilts attached to that and their protective devices are somehow gone, and they are replaced by peace, or at least we're moving towards peace, either replaced by or moving that direction. That's unknown. They don't know what peace is.
No.
They have an emotional response in current time to things. People say things and do things, and we replay this other unresolved stuff, and we shy back or don't. The way we respond limits us in many ways. But if it isn't resolved, and they have this unknown thing, they actually get afraid of that, in a sense. They're afraid of that. Don't want to go there. No. Let me hold on to what was. So that does work itself out, by the way, with time. But anyway, go ahead, expand on your example. If
Yeah, I mean, another example that comes to mind, and I seem to have heard this reasonable amount recently, is that sometimes there are lots of people out there in the world who have done a lot of work over many years, on themselves and on their issues and whatever. Maybe people who are studying, your Optimum EFT, the Unseen Therapist book or the course, or maybe people who've been involved in other modalities. And what I hear with some frequency is like, I should be able to do this on my own. Like, I shouldn't need, to go to somebody or to work with somebody. I should be able to do this on my own. Now, for me, when I hear should, there's a little, antenna that kind of goes up, because when there's a should in there, there's, underlying beliefs, and there's, lots of interesting things to explore.
Yeah, sure.
But as well as that, I mean, sometimes when we're so caught up in something ourselves, when we're really not at peace, it can be more of a challenge to connect to the unseen therapist. So whether it's finding somebody that's happy to practice along with us or whatever it might be, I think just having another person, and that person is more objective because it's not their stuff, no matter, how much they're there to help us, going to somebody else sometimes can make a really big difference.
But on the other hand, you're right. Some people say, well, and this is one of our blocks to success. I should be able to do this on my own. But and a parallel to that is, well, I should be able to do this on my own. Why should I rely on something as out there and woo-woo as the unseen therapist, a power that is really within, not aware of, and so on? Maybe my ego should take charge. Here comes our ego. Yes, our ego always has all the answers. All right. Maybe my ego should take charge here, and it should solve the problem rather than relying on this ultimate power within. That's another unknown to them in a way. Most of us realize we've got this ultimate power. We just don't know what to do with it. Our course and this examples we're giving right here and so on is helping people get in touch with that power. But that's, the shall I call it? I will call it lack of trust in that power, lack of trust in the unseen therapist.
Yeah.
You've seen this yourself. You've experienced it yourself.
Yes. And maybe lack of trust in our own ability to communicate. Like, it can work for other people, but lack of trust of our own ability to do it. And then, of course, second guessing, was that my head or was that the unseen therapist, or how do I know the difference? So it's complex, isn't it? Because we're humans and we're complex.
The interesting thing about it, this is why my advanced course is designed the way it is. It takes experience to start gaining this trust. We start working on a specific event. My father did so and so to me when I was 6 years old and said whatever it was, and I'm still feeling angry about it or guilty about it or whatever. I'm at a 9 or I'm at a 10. Just thinking about it. We'll then go through this personal peace procedure with the unseen therapist. And more often than not, if we've designed and located our specific event well, and of course teaches you how to do that, this 9 or 10 or whatever it is, it's going to go to a 0 or a 1 or a 2 or something really quite small. And it's easy for the client to somehow say, well, that was a coincidence or something like that. But after you do that once, twice, 3, 5, 8, 10 times, after a while, you begin to trust that this ultimate healing power is really there. Now, you may need to refine your process. You may need to learn more about it to get deeper and so on, but it's really there. It's the ultimate power, but it takes trust. And that's one of the blocks to success is people sometimes will quit or stop or delay or whatever before they develop heavy trust. Now, I'm going to guess, Anne, because I don't think I talked to you about this, but you're on that same path of I didn't trust much at all, and now I'm trusting a lot more. Do I have that right? What's your personal experience?
Yeah. What's my personal experience? My ability to communicate is probably the bit. I think the trust was there because that something kind of spiritual and deep was there within me. You presented this to the world, and I was like, oh my goodness, this is what I've been waiting for. Okay, so for me, that part was easy. But the communicating with the unseen therapist, like, yeah, just being open to that. I mean, there's a huge surrender happens in communicating with her, and as somebody who's quite organized and structured, etc., which I am, like, there really is a sort of a kind of letting go and handing over that I think maybe for some people, but happened for me bit by bit by bit. And then you, as you say, the trust builds as you see, oh, okay, that guidance really worked out, or that thing I heard or I saw, led me down the right path. And I'm guessing it's different for everybody. So the trust in the unseen therapist being there for me wasn't an issue at the beginning. But the communication with her, I mean, for a long time, I needed to do it with somebody else, and then eventually can do it myself now.
That still qualifies to me as a block, maybe you want to call it a semi-block, the communication bit. For you, maybe not for others, but at least for you, okay, I'm already in touch. I'm a believer, this kind of thing, in this extra spiritual power that's within. I just don't know how to access it well. And now accessing it well means communicating well. Listening is a better way to say it. Unseen therapist is always communicating with wisdom far beyond wisdom that we think we have. Our egos think we have all the answers, but no, this other wisdom is there, and you've got to learn to listen. And the more experience you have with our advanced course, which is designed to help you listen, the more you're able to distinguish between true guidance, true aims toward peace, and the chatter that goes on all the time anyway. Okay? It just takes a while to do. And
yes.
And I've been at it for some time, and I'm getting better and better at it, but I'm not perfect at it. I'm still learning to listen myself, and I assume you are too.
Absolutely. Oh God, I mean, it's a work in progress, and I think it will be all my life, all our lives, Yeah, absolutely.
So what that does, properly seen, is this communication that we're talking about being a block to success is actually an opportunity. It's an exciting opportunity, because as you begin to climb our stairway to miracles in this direction, you're starting to get some stuff that is not just about your headache or your ailment or whatever. It's about other things in your life. It's about decisions you need to make. What about doing this with your children or doing that and so on? And there's everyday decisions that don't have to do with our specific ailments. Okay.
Yeah.
And you walk through this life lighter.
Yes.
Lighter. But in the meantime, the block becomes an opportunity, an exciting opportunity. And I'm inviting everybody listening in to shift that perception from, I don't know if I can really get into this unseen therapist thing, to what an opportunity if I could. And believe me, you can. Okay. It will take experience. Yes, but you can. Anything else? Go ahead.
I just want to say, I think that is a lovely way of kind of shifting around how we can look at these things. And I think the other thing I would say is to bring fun into it. It's like there can be lightness. There can be, oh, I wonder what you might have to say today. I mean, I tend to look up when I talk to the unseen therapist, but like we can just play with it. And it's like, so what if nothing happens or seems to happen, or we don't seem to hear anything? It's like, take the seriousness out of it, the kind of, oh gosh, I've got to sit and I've got to be, fist clenched and really intense and tuned in and whatever. I think that lightness and, like you say, the opportunity, it takes the weight, the pressure off it.
Unseen therapist, for those listening in, some might think she's all very serious. You have all these very serious things. You have grief and you have angers, and we got to. She's got this great sense of humor. I remember one of our mutual friends, Marion, was telling this story. She was asking unseen therapists, and she's very good at this. She's been at it some time, for an answer to some issue going on. She was asking unseen therapists and was getting nothing. And she says, how come I'm not getting anything? How come you're not answering me? Unseen therapist answers, well, because you're not listening. which is that's just you're saying it like it is, but in this humorous way. It's not shame on you, straighten up.
Yeah.
It's always very light.
Yeah.
It's very light. You're talking to the ultimate truth, which doesn't need to defend itself.
Yeah.
So it just comes from this very light place. And if you're not getting it right, that's okay. We'll wait. Have patience. It's all an illusion anyway. So, lighten up kind of thing, In the meantime, you might want to look here, look there, and look someplace else, So as these pointers come up. So anyway, blocks to success. Anything more you want to talk about on all that?
No, that's lovely. Thanks, Gary.
All right. Okay. Well, all right, everybody. I hope you enjoyed it. We'll see you next time.